Hey friends. So, you've probably noticed that a staple of the video so far, my lovely big screen monitor is no longer working. It's a bummer, but I still have my laptop, so we can still do our video today, which today we are focusing on budgeting, which honestly I actually have a lot of fun with. I love numbers and spreadsheets, so that's my neurodivergent Virgo peeking out of me. Anyhow, so if you read the Substack article, you'll notice I dive into a lot about how budgets are important, especially for authors, because it really helps you understand where your money's going to go if you have money, uh, or where your money needs to go and what you need to save up for. And doing a budget early, even before you start writing, will tell you how much you need so you can start saving now as opposed to trying to scramble and put pennies together later. So today we are going to start off with building out my budget template because I had an old one but it doesn't really work anymore for what I needed to do. So I'm going to build a new budget template, and then after that we're going to come back and talk about it, and then we are going to then turn around and plug in the numbers for my Curse Novella project that we've been working on. So let's go ahead and get started, and I hope that you enjoy my lovely process of playing with spreadsheets. Okay, so getting started with our building our budget template, we're going to start tossing in basically expenditures that we expect to be having. This is going to be my worksheet basically on sheet number one, just really just listing out what kind of stuff I know I'm going to need to make spending on. So, we got our editor, we got our cover artist, character art, doing market research, advertising spending, all of our convention costs. What else we have? Travel for going to the convention, all those travel costs that could include hotel, airfare, car fare, whatever. And then the cost for making any promotional materials, whether that's getting character art made or making media kits or anything like that. And then our fixed costs or our overhead, like paying for Adobe Creative Suite, and then any kind of budget that I am going to set aside for any kind of stock media costs, like if I have to get stock photos or stock video for uh, social media posts or book trailers or anything like that. And then, of course, any costs is related to the launch event. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to bring it over to my budget sheet, which I have broken down by department. And so now I'm really just going to drag and drop because you see that we have broken down by pre-production, drafting, editing, review, basically the same fields that we have on our work breakdown structure. And so now what we're doing is we're just really just dropping and dragging, dropping it into the appropriate field. So some of these are self-explanatory, like editing has the editor, and then just doing some minor formatting here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to speed up the video a little bit so we can get through all of this kind of a tedious work. And so what's really important here is making a format that is good for you to keep track of information. Because when running a business, having the right information at your fingertips that is easily digestible, easily understandable, quickly is going to be what means the difference between making good decisions at the last minute or at a moment's notice, and making bad decisions on gut instinct when you need actual hard information. Public relations going to do things like media kits, like I mentioned earlier. That's definitely something that's going to be important when you're reaching out to get some potential media coverage, whether that be podcasters or bloggers or even like traditional media like magazines, newspapers, or even like morning shows. That's always an option if you have something that's really high concept. Okay, and now we have finishing up this template with moving our overhead costs and making sure that everything is set in place where we need it to be, making sure that I have my formatting correctly because I am a stickler for my formatting. I like everything to look neat and crisp. And while I was doing that, I just remembered another cost for the review process. I have found a lot of my beta readers through BookFunnel. And so that it does cost a monthly membership when I use it. And so putting that on here as a cost is going to be something that I want to budget for. Okay, so we have a template now that I feel is a pretty good spot to be. I may make some more tweaks to it later. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But we're going to go ahead and start plugging in some numbers. Now, what I'm doing here is a lot of these are just estimates. There are very few times where you could do things just off vibes. Really, the only things that it's really acceptable to make decisions off of vibes is when it comes to estimating numbers and using garlic. So today we're estimating numbers. So I'm going to go off of vibes when I figure out exactly how much I'm going to be spending on things like cover art and such. I do have a formula that I use for figuring out estimating how much I'm going to spend on an editor. So we're going to talk about that. And then when we're done, we'll wrap up and come back and just close this video out. All right, so as you can see, we have everything filled in here. I did add some new items. I have the project name, the start, as well as the project finish date. And then you can see that I added some other fields over here. The target budget number, as well as the current budget, which is going to essentially add up all the numbers in the cost column, and then a reconciliation, which is going to tell us exactly where we are in relation to the target budget that we had set. So I have to do a quick equation here to basically add up all of the items in the cost column, which is a pretty equation to do. All right, so for research costs, we want to do 150, but we also have not set our target budget yet. So I'm going to set the target budget at 5,000 because I feel that's a good number that's achievable to save to, but also realistic. So 150 for the research costs. And as you can see, our reconciliation is dropped to 4,850. Editing cost, I kind of have to do that calculation and I wanted to be able to do that quickly. So I'm going to just create a quick equation over here on our first sheet for editing. And so we know that most editors charge per word. And so I know that Gina Denny charges a 10.9 cents for her full package, which I believe includes 4 rounds of edits, which includes, I believe, line editing and proofreading. So that is what I'm going to go with for now because that is what I would like to have. And so now I'm just plugging in the equation to calculate that out. Okay, so we're estimating that this novella is going to be at max 65,000 words. And so you see, wow, that is $7,000 just for the editing package, which blows right through our $5,000 budget. So we need to make some changes here. So what can we do here? Let's actually, how much will that blow through our budget? So let's actually calculate that out. Over $2,000 over budget on one item. That is just not going to do. So adjustments need to be made. So I know that Gina's package for just a first round edit, just a one-shot edit, is, I believe it's like 3.5 cents per word. So we're going to go with that. And so you see that one drops it down to a much more manageable number for our budget. It's just a little bit under 2,300. Which you can see is almost half the budget, but still pretty considerable. Now, for the book funnel membership, that is $20 a month. I expect I'm going to need it for about 3 months, maybe for 4 months. So $120 for the book funnel membership. Now, for marketing research, there are services that I can pay. I'm not going to pay for any services, but I will probably have to pay for some articles and stuff. So $100 right there. And as far as advertising spend, I spent about $500 on my novella that I published on my Substack just recently. So I'm going to go $500 for the advertising spend there. Now, with regards to the character art and promotional material, for character art, if I don't do it myself, I'm estimating I'm probably going to spend a couple $100 there. So let's see what my budget can handle. Okay, can my budget handle $600 for character art?
and then $300 for promotional material. Let's see. Okay, so that brings us down to $955 remaining. Now, how much more do we have left to work with? Okay, we still have to do convention costs and a cover artist, and then also our overhead costs. Now, the question is, how many conventions do we want to go to? Do I want to go to one or two? Because those are costs right there. And then at those conventions, do I want to have a table? So table costs tend to be around $150 on average. I know that when I used to work with Alum City Comic Con here in San Antonio, Texas, that table costs started at around 150. So I think I want to do two. So I'm putting 300 here. Now travel costs. If I wanted to go out of state, then I would have to fly. That's a cost right there. I'm going to try to keep it in-state driving hotel costs. So that was 800, drop it down to 400 because we were over budget. So looks like we're going to do one con here in Texas for one table, 150, $400 travel costs, driving and hotel and food. Now for the cover costs, cover artists typically I've seen them run to like 600. That's a little too expensive for us for our budget. So is this something that I'm going to have to do myself? I mean, I do have my Wacom tablet and I have Illustrator and Photoshop. I have done character art before and cover art before. So do I want to sacrifice character art? So character I will sacrifice for 300. And then promotional material I need to keep at 300. Or should I drop it? Try and decide what to do here. Nope. I'm just going to 86 character art entirely and I'm going to just do it myself. But I am going to keep cover art at 600 because I want a quality cover for this one. So for Adobe Creative Suite, I pay about $66 a month, I think is what it is now. And this project is going to be over the course of 2 years. But realistically, if I'm doing the character art, I'm only going to be really using it for this project for about 3 or 4 months. So I put it at $300 to cover it. So that's about a little bit under 5 months, like 4.5 months. And for stock media, I don't expect spending a lot of money on stock media, so maybe like $100 here, just to get maybe some video clips paid for, as well as maybe some photos paid for. So maybe I should adjust my Adobe Creative Suite. You know what? Actually, I need to do a better calculation on that. I'm gonna do a better calculation and then plug that number in here. Because I'm not using it solely for this project, so I need to calculate exactly how much of my monthly use is going to be used for this project. And so that brings us to a reconciliation of $305. Now for the launch event, how much money do we want to put towards our launch event, if anything? So this one I need to revisit once I make a decision. All right. And so that looks like that is our budget.
So, we're all done. And it did not go as bad as I thought. We did have some hiccups there where we had to adjust some numbers, but we did end up with having a little bit left over of our estimated $5,000 budget, a little bit over $300 to work with. I do try not to estimate up to the very last penny because wiggle room is nice and it gives you some flexibility. So what I'm going to do with this information now is now I know what my savings goal is, so now I have to build out exactly how much I am going to be able to save in the amount of time that I need it, and then also look at my project schedule to determine exactly when will I need to start spending this money and in what increment will I need to start spending it. If I remember correctly from the network diagram and the project schedule, I'm not going to need to start spending money on an editor until probably early to mid 2027. So I have some time. So if I start saving now, I should be able to have enough to cover the editing cost. And then I do recall that I have a lot of slack when it came to the cover art, so that is going to be a godsend for me to be able to spread out those costs and that spending a little bit. So I hope you really enjoyed this video and you got some value out of it. Again, if you decide to do your own budget and make your own template and you get stuck and have questions, feel free to message me on social media. I'm always happy to offer advice and help walk through people on anything. I'm not trying to make money here. I just want to share what I've learned in my studies and in my progress as an author and as a project manager. As with anything that I put out, it's really, I just ask that you consider it and then take what works for you, and then whatever doesn't work for you, just leave it behind. I'm not going to be offended. But I hope that this was helpful for you and it's going to help you to build your business as a career author. And I look forward to talking to you next week, when I believe next week we're going to be talking about risk analysis. And that is also a very fun topic, because if you're a worrywart, this is definitely going to be right up your alley. So I'll see you next week.